Oh, thank you. I love it. Lois. Hi, Lois.
Hopefully she hears you.
Old school.
We'll start with questions in the room and then we'll move on to Zoom if anyone wants to start.
How does it feel to be back here and Eric and Coach T are both here and like a lot of people come here? Like, is it a nice day for you?
It's an amazing day for me. It just feels surreal. I'm just super excited that they all took the time to come out, but also seeing all the fans that were here from day one, down from day one. It's a little overwhelming to know it's been 20 years since we came to Connecticut, and the fans, everyone has just been amazing and embraced us, but also seeing those faces that I haven't seen in a number of years and knowing that they still appreciate, after all these years, what they meant to me, but also what I meant to the franchise.
Taj, what do you remember about the day you learned the franchise was moving here, or you would be moving here, and what it was like day one when you walked in?
Sadness? No. I was actually, my daughter was born in January of 2003. So I was the last one to find out because I was kind of recovering from having a baby. I knew they had closed down the Orlando franchise, but I didn't know. People were talking. Remember, this is 2003, so it wasn't no Instagram, or I don't know if it was or not, or Twitter, or things like that. I wasn't on anyway. So it was literally somebody had to call me and say that the team is gonna be moving to Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. I was like, I don't know what that is. And so it was kind of like hopeful that I had an opportunity still to play in the W, and thankful that we still had the opportunity and we weren't going to be in an expansion draft and try to figure it out. So that part was, there was a sadness because the team we had started with, all of us together, was gone, but also a hopefulness that the long-term solution, because I didn't want to be part of another team that folded. The long-term solution was going to be something of strength because they were telling us about the Mohegan tribe and how the casino was built and how it's going to be something more stable, and it's in Connecticut. And of course, everyone knew about UConn and the great fan base. And so that was pretty enlightening for me to have the move, and was something I was looking forward to after the initial shock wore off.
So when you got here, when did you start to feel like, yeah, this is going to work? This is a good place for a franchise. This franchise is going to have some staying power. When did you start to feel it?
Yeah, it took about a month and a half because, the first month you're kind of in shock. I'd never lived in Connecticut. And so just me with at the time, my daughter was 6 months old. So me with a 6-month-old, a husband who was in the military and couldn't come. So everything was kind of like a shock to me. Oh, people are nice here. Oh, okay. And it's kind of cold. I got off the plane in like shorts because I lived in Texas and it was freezing. So it was shocking. And then it was like, everyone was so nice. Like everywhere I went, they were like, yay, Connecticut Sun, we got a team. And everyone. And that really helped me understand that this is a great place. Outside of knowing about UConn, there's a great fan base. They've been doing that and winning for years and years and years at that time. So it was kind of like an expectation that this was going to be a great space. And hopefully I was going to stay because, that was a big deal too, because I was on a year by year at the time with Orlando because we came from the ABL. So we came into an expansion. An ABL draft is what they called it. So
As you see the way that WNBA is evolving, and now obviously the talk is about the super teams and the big cities, do you feel like this market, this franchise still has a place going forward and can still thrive and do what it's done going forward in that environment?
absolutely. You see a super team? I see a lot of good players on all these teams. And I think that creates a parity in our league. So I don't subscribe to super teams unless you mean like teamwork. There's some great teams that have great chemistry. And I really think that there's going to be some shocking things happening this season where people are like, yeah, the super team's going to beat everybody. Okay. I'll wait and see. I've seen this I've been doing this a long time, so it doesn't surprise me.
There's a difference between the super roster and the super team.
Correct. And I think we use them interchangeably when we shouldn't.
When
I think for us that played, it was a really special time. Myself, Lindsay, Nikisha, Katie, Brooke, Wyckoff, all of us that were here. I think for us, it was like the coming together and the understanding of team first, how to actually subvert your tendencies, your ego, and all of that to put the team first. And I think Coach Tebow helped with that because he very much held everyone accountable. And I think that's the blueprint you continue to see as you go on to what you see now. There's an accountability level. There's a team atmosphere. There's a space where, yes, you could score 50 on another team, but you take less to be part of this team because you know that all those things are present. I think you see that with Brianna Jones. I think you see that with AT. DeWanna came here for a reason. She could have chose any franchise, but she chose to come to Connecticut and be part of what's going on here. So I think those are the things that have stood the test of time, even during some of the down times, as people say. When you don't win 25 games, I guess it's downtime. But I think that has been the mainstay of this organization and this franchise, is that teamwork element.
We're going to take a question on Zoom and then go back to the room. Lois, go ahead.
I was second behind someone else. I feel bad. I thought
Oh,
Yeah, the
Nathan should
guy on the
go
left had
first,
his hand up the whole
but
time.
We'll go to him next.
I'll
Nathan.
go. Taj, you've been such a witness to basketball history. So what does a day like this mean, where you can reflect on your own history, but also not just the league, but you played in the ABL, you played overseas, you've coached in the WNBA as an assistant coach. What does it mean to have a day where you can reflect on your personal history, but also women's professional basketball history?
I think the legacy piece is really important. I think it's really hard to be self-reflective for me because I really never put myself in that spot or position. So it's, to be honest, kind of like just surprising to have this honor bestowed upon me. But when I look at the wider lens of the women's game and how it's just the trajectory of it from when I was playing and when I was part of this franchise, you're just amazed. Women's sports have come so far. I was sharing with someone else when I was in Orlando and I found out I was pregnant. The franchise waited to let the league know so I could keep my contract, because if you got cut when you're pregnant, when I was in the W. I lost my Nike contract, all of that. And now to celebrate women who are, for lack of a better term, kick-ass moms too, and to put them in a position of being able to take care of their family and not worry about losing their job is, for me, the top. And what all the work and effort that you put in to get to this space, it's really deserving of its own banner. But just knowing that I was part of that movement and I am being honored in this way has been sobering.
I mean, you were a working mom, raising two children, taking them wherever you went in the world. So when you see that maybe now not only is the W being a little more, inclusive towards supporting those working moms, but the women don't hesitate, like they don't think it'll be the end of their career. But how did you juggle all that and keep going and keep winning and keep making impacts after you left Connecticut on every team you played at?
I have no clue. Not joking.
No, you were always
only
Yoda.
the Lord knows. I just, you work at any job that you have, anyone in the world, and you hope that there's a community of humanity where people help out and see the best parts of you, even when you're not having your best days. So being on a team and pushing myself, all of those things were things that the characteristics that I thought would best help me be a mom and propel me forward in my career as well as my home life. And I had an amazing partner. My husband is just fabulous. So he was always there and available for me to follow my dreams, and that helped tremendously as well. But going home and knowing that they didn't care if I won or lost was also kind of exciting, because I didn't have to be on at home. I could just be me. Mad that I lost, happy that I won, mad that I didn't play good, happy that I played good, whatever it was, it went away the moment I opened the door. And I think that allowed me to be refreshed when I came back again, because I didn't bring anything with me except those happy faces and smiles, or some tears when I left for trips, and just came here with an open heart and to be able to play and give what I think are the best parts of this game to others and having fun, because it's all fun. It's basketball, so it couldn't be anything more than fun.
My last question brings it back to Connecticut. What skills did you perhaps develop here that you then took with you to other teams where they really looked to you for leadership, because you were probably the senior most person on the team, but you may have been new to the team. I mean, I witnessed what you did in New York. You came in brand new to the team and you still were such an important leader, giving them guidance and perspective. So what skills perhaps that you developed here with the Connecticut Sun that you then took into the rest of your professional playing career?
I think Tebow, and Coach Hawk, and Coach Bernadette really instilled in us the ability to do it all and do it well. I think that's a lot different than some other coaches maybe. Yes, they want you to be perfect all the time because that's what coaches do. But I think our coaching staff here actually gave you the tools to do it better than what you thought you could do, and they expected that. And that's what I was, besides being a leader, I think that's what I was able to take into all the other teams. And remember when I came to Orlando, and I had been playing overseas for four years before anyone had been playing. Even before the ABL, I was overseas for 4 years. So I was still the senior most as far as playing experience on the team, even when I came here. A lot of them hadn't been overseas. A lot of them hadn't been through that. So the leadership, I think I brought with me, but the toughness, but I think the accountability and holding yourself and others accountable, I learned here with Connecticut that I could take with me. That defensive intensity, the 40 minutes, and how staying in shape and being in shape was really, really important, because you were expected to. You don't come in the one time I was out of shape was when I first came because I just had the baby. But other than that, I came in ready to go because Mike Tebow and the staff required that of you, and you didn't want to let them down. So when I started going to other teams, I started taking all those tools and those lessons that I learned here with me and sharing them with other people on other teams. And it's a natural thing. When you've been playing under a certain team, like when the UConn players leave, they still have those tendencies that they learn from Coach Ariema and that they bring with them to other teams and pass off. And I think that's the great thing about great coaches. They give you tools. It may not be, I could always put the ball in the basket, but the other intangible tools that he gave us that we can now use on other teams. And you see it when you look at the Mystics. It's kind of the same thing. You see the same things that we did here with Coach Tebow before he retired to just be the GM. And I think that just is something that you keep passing on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lois.
Thank you, Lois.
We'll go one question with Nathan and then finish up in the room.
Hey, Coach Franklin, congratulations on your jersey retirement today.
Thank you.
I think for any athlete, when your jersey's hung in the rafters or when you're being inducted to the Hall of Fame, that's like the upper echelon of your career. When you look back on your career, what would you say your ultimate why is?
My ultimate why is, it wasn't for this. This was like icing on the cake. I don't eat icing, but you get the analogy. I think my why was always to impact lives. I grew up without anyone that looked like me, my height. My dad raised me, so finding role models that looked like me and that I wanted to emulate were really hard. And as I learned through the game, I learned my self-confidence. Gave myself strong self-esteem. I had a voice that people listened to. I respected myself. I got them all through basketball. And my why became, who can I help to get to that space? They may not want to be a professional basketball player or professional athlete, but whatever it is that their dream is, how can I help them be that person that they can look at and say, she overcame all of this stuff and she still did it. And that was always and is always my why, just moving forward, moving the needle forward, moving young girls and young boys forward and giving them hope and a plan and someone to look up to. Because at some point, there's always going to be a lull. There's always going to be people saying no. I was told that I would never do anything with my life after having a daughter at a young age. And I never had anyone to go to and be like, build me up, lift me up. And that's what I want to be. And that's always has been and always will be my why.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Nathan.
Nathan.
We're gonna go to Jacqueline next.
Appreciate you, Coach.
How did you find out that you were being honored tonight, and how long has this kind of been in the works?
Jen Rosati, who I played against in the ABL, had kind of mentioned it last year during the playoffs. I was here for Sylvia Fowles' last game, which ended up being her last game. And I was sitting next to Coach Jen, or y'all know her as President Jen, I know her as Coach. And she hinted at it, and she was like, yeah, we're thinking about, your jersey being up there, because we were looking up, and I was like, God, I miss Margot. And she was like, yeah, looks like there's another space up there. And I was like, yeah, it's a lot of spaces. But I didn't connect it. And then she sent me a message and was like, we're gonna honor you this year. And so that was the start of it. Last year, I'd say 2 years ago, the first championship that Alyssa and them were in, she actually said it. She's like, we're trying to get them to raise your jersey too. It should be up there. And I was like, it's okay. I don't do this for that. And she was like, no, you're one of the greats. You need to be up there. So Alyssa Thomas actually a couple of years ago said it to me herself. And I think Alyssa, Jasmine, and DB were pushing for it. But when Jen told me last year, I was kind of like, okay, all right. And then as it got closer, it kind of became more concrete and scary. But yeah, that's how I found out. So it was, yeah. And then to see it, and then people started like, you get your jersey retired. And I was like, what? And they sent me like an article on the Connecticut Sun website. And I was like, oh my God, this is really happening. This is really awesome. So.
Can you talk a little bit about what you do in your current role now with the league? Is this something that you ever thought was even a possibility for you after you've retired from playing?
Yeah, so currently I'm the WNBA Player Relations and Player Development Manager. I'll answer the second one and then I'll tell you what I do. So no, I did not think I was going to be able to do this because there was really no blueprint for when the old school players stopped, because all we did was ball. So like Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl, Lisa, we just all balled. So when you're finished with your career, you have an aha moment, like, wait, what am I gonna do now? I've only been a basketball player. For me, it was a little different because I was at an NAIA school and I worked through college. So I had college experience on my resume, but a lot of our former players did not. So it was easy for me to say, okay, I'm just gonna work. That's what I do, I work, I gotta pay bills. But as I worked, I figured out my last year in Minnesota with Revo, I was always, Cheryl Reeve, I was always with the coaching staff. And the way I look at the game, it's like a coach, and she was the one like, you need to coach. You probably should coach. And I was like, meh, coaching. And then it was like, okay, coaching, I see. And Greg Williams, who coached Detroit the first year in the league, was the head coach at University of Rice and in Houston, Texas. And he was like, I'd love to have you here. I heard you want to coach. And I was like, do I want to coach? And so he said, you can grow here because I don't need a top assistant. You can learn all of that good stuff. So he brought me in right after the second year when we lost in the finals to Indiana, which I will never forgive them for that. With Katie Douglas, also will never forgive her for that. And went to work for him. And so I was coaching. But after all those years of coaching, I wanted to learn the business of basketball, not just the coaching or the playing, but the actual business. And the NBA had a program for former players, both NBA, G League, and W, to come into the league office for a year and learn the business of basketball, because I really wanted to be a GM. Because at the time, the WNBA had coach/GM. So I had no experience in the GM side. And I wanted to still be a head coach in the W. So I was like, okay, I need to do this. Well, the year has been 5 years, and I went from the NBA for 2 years to the W with a job that did not exist. So they made this job literally for me. And what I do is I help former and current players figure out what they want to do after they're done playing while they're playing. And for the former, I help them kind of solidify what's next. So they may be in jobs they don't like, they may be doing something they want to do, but I sit and just talk to them about what they want to do, what they're good at, and how we can help facilitate that. And I do that with Bonnie Thurston, who works with player programs, and Kiki Griffin, who now is our league ops analyst. We have a little mini group now of trying to help players figure that out sooner rather than later. But we have some that are later. We help them too. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. 2 former players, Morgan and Jen. Also, the prototype of the league should be like that, right? But it's pretty awesome to be back in Connecticut. I come back every year I'm here, and every year I feel the love from the fans. It's always exciting. Working for the league, you know, it's just up the street from where we're at. So I remember last year coming in for the playoffs and just walking around and waving at people. It was just so awesome. So for me, it means like a validation of a career that spanned 22 years. And I played the most years for this franchise / Orlando, Connecticut. My best years and my most formative. We didn't win a title. We made it to the finals 2 years. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But the experiences, the teams, me and Lindsay were best buds. It's one of my best friends from playing with her as a kid here, her first year here, taking care of her, making sure she's good, to now being, you know, we just text each other crazy stuff. And someone I enjoy all the time. And that's, for me, is more meaningful, but also having them witness, because we're all part of each other. And I know that's weird to say, but when her jersey went up, mine went up with hers, Keish, hers, Katie, Brooke, all of us that were all together, Jesse Hicks, and so on and so forth. Margot, Rebecca Lobo, Debbie Black, we all went up with her because we're all part of that. And for me, having this is just a validation of everything they also did to help me be the best Taj that I could be.
We have time for one more question, and then Sierra.
If you could describe this family in one word, what would it be?
Thankful. Very thankful.
All right. Thank you so much, Taj.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Appreciate it.
time.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.